This week's best MMA bets, we're talking UFC London. We're going to talk the lock of the week, my favorite underdogs on the card. I'll also talk about some of my most confident favorite picks. We'll talk some prop/value bets and finish it out with the parlays. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. We're starting it off with the lock of the week.
Fighting out of London, England, Nathaniel the Prospect Wood!
Nathaniel Wood to beat Andre Fili is going to be my lock this week. I honestly have a really good feeling about the matchup. I think Wood has the speed and the ability to close distance where he's going to find a good amount of strikes on Andre Fili. Now, the truth is, Andre Fili is always pretty dog tough. So you can see the knockout prop line is very wide. It sits all the way up at around plus 500 for the side of Nathaniel Wood. I do think there's a possibility of knockout, but I'm not saying that the knockout is the lock. The money line is where the most confidence lies. That sits around minus 190 for Nathaniel Wood. When you look at some of the other potential bets to play, I definitely think decision is live. That's the official method of victory call at plus 125. And I think that we're going to see two guys who are fairly competitive, but Wood, the clear speed, and I think technically is better too. Fili is a long guy who's pretty decent from the outside, but he doesn't have huge fight stopping power. And I think Wood is going to be able to rip at his legs, work towards closing the distance with boxing combinations and really touch Fili up. And I think a pretty fun fight too. I'm going with Wood. He's going to be the lock this week. I think that he is the more well-versed fighter and has a speed edge here, and I like him to win. Minus 190, not the greatest tag ever, but I am confident that he's getting his hand raised. So Nathaniel Wood, I'm doubling down on him. I was definitely going to have him as a most confident pick if he wasn't the lock, but he's the lock this week, and I have him taking Andre Fili out. Knockout, sprinkle. Money line, minus 190, the highest confidence in decision, though. I do think the official method of victory, which also sits at plus 125 if you're feeling that decision side. That is this week's lock, Nathaniel Wood. I want to jump into some plus money, though. And I want to talk about my favorite underdogs. I am going to bring them all up on the screen at once. Got four of my favorite dogs this card. So we got some savage dogs that I think are going to come through. First one, I'll list them off in order. We got Yanal Ashmoz. I think he's going to get the win. I have him at plus 120. He's a good underdog. Also, the side of Paul Craig. I think he pulls it off coming down to 185. And then we also have Shauna Bannon and we have Josh Kulabayao. So we got a fair amount of dogs to play with. I'll go more into detail first on Yanal Ashmoz, who I like a lot against Chris Duncan. I say I like him a ton actually here. Looking at the matchup, Chris Duncan is a guy who's hittable. He's been hurt in the majority of big fights that we see from him. And I think when you put him in there with a guy with the fight-stopping punching power of a Yanal Ashmoz, he's bound to get clipped, and I do think his lights will be shut off. I'm going Ashmoz to win by knockout, but that money line side is beautiful, around plus 120, plus 125. The knockout prop, it's pretty good, honestly, here at plus 325. Duncan by KO TKO plus 195 on the opposite side. So you get, an extra plus 130 for the Ashmoz knockout. It's a lot wider. And I think Ashmoz has the style to hurt a Chris Duncan. As hittable as Duncan can be at times, I know he's been working on his more well-versed game, looking to close the gap and trying to wrestle. But Ashmoz has the wrestling capabilities in defense too. Chris Duncan is going to find himself on the feet, and he's going to find himself, I think, knocked out here. I'm going Ashmoz KO plus 325. I like the prop, and I love the money line at plus 122. The other underdogs to talk, will first bring up Paul Craig next. So Paul Craig is dropping down to 185 pounds. He's also a plus 185 underdog, which, I'm not trying to be superstitious here, but maybe that's telling you something. He's coming in on weight, ready to rock. Andre Muniz does not have the fight-stopping punching power. Paul Craig, I think, is a heavier-handed fighter, and I'd say the better striker than Muniz. And when you look at the grappling, I think Craig is going to pull off a good W and really start making his way up at middleweight. Now, how far does he go? Well, when you run into a dangerous striker with good grappling defense, obviously, it's always live to Paul Craig getting KO'd. But I think with Muniz, he can win here. I think he can finish Muniz. I'm going Paul Craig to win the fight by sub. Craig is a plus 350 submission prop. He's always live for that sub. And I think that plus 350, yeah, I know Muniz has very good jiu-jitsu, but I see Paul Craig finding a strangle on him. I think he can get the back and rear naked choke him. Brendan Allen was able to do it. Obviously, different stylistic matchup here, but I like Paul Craig's chances. Plus 185, I got Paul Craig, one of my favorite dogs on the card. Next one, we'll talk about ladies matchup. It's Shauna Bannon over Bruna Brazil. She's around plus 130 as an underdog. I like her chances to win this fight a damn lot here. I think she has more dog in her than Bruna Brazil. I feel like her punch combinations are faster. Brazil is the better kicker of the two, but more of an upright striker, being stiffer. I think Bannon's going to find strikes inside, especially obviously punches. And then when you look at when they clinch up, I don't think Bruna Brazil has this monstrous jiu-jitsu game that she can use on a Shauna Bannon here. Also note that Bannon on her back, she throws up submission attempts. She looks for reversals. I like that she looks for get-ups, too. She's active from the bottom, which is a positive trait in this matchup here. I got Shauna Bannon winning. I do believe we're probably going longer, but I have to mention knockout prop for Bannon is plus 1,600, which, seeing that Brazil got knocked out in her last fight, it wouldn't be impossible for her to get chinned here. But decision, more likely, it's plus 150. I do think Bannon is going to get it done on the judges' scorecards. But money line, Shauna Bannon, plus 130, I do think is a pretty swell tag. And then let's jump up to Josh Culibao. He's the final dog in this dog section. He's a plus 110 dog against Lerone Murphy. I think it's going to be a very competitive fight. I like fight goes distance around minus 175. Over 2.5 is at minus 200, which is something you could potentially parlay up. I see both guys as dangerous and calculated strikers fighting in a back and forth competitive bout. And I know a lot of people would say, man, if it's close, why wouldn't you just pick the hometown guy? Well, I think Culibao is going to do a bit more to earn the right decision here. So I'm going to go Culibao by decision. That sits at plus 300. I've said I think he could definitely pull off a split decision. I got Culibao removing Lerone Murphy from the unbeaten. I think Culibao's got him, man. I like that he's also fought and lost, I know, to Jalen Turner. He's got a good amount of experience. Granted, obviously, Lerone Murphy also has a lot of experience, too, in the UFC. But I'm just not overly sold on him. And with that undefeated record, and now you're fighting a dog like Culibao, I like the plus money. I like the Culibao side on a hard-fought decision. Let's jump to the next section, which is going to be the most confident favorite picks. And if you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're enjoying, subscribe to the channel too if you're new. All right, most confident favorite picks up on the screen. I'm going to bring two of them. It's Tom Aspinall and Mukhmud Muradov. I am confident that these two guys are winners. Yes, the lines suck. Minus 350 Muradov, minus 450 for Tom Aspinall. Both guys should get their hand raised. Now, I'm more confident on a method of victory for Tom Aspinall. Muradov, I think he's a good money line parlay addition because it's going to really depend upon how tough Brian Barberena is at 185 pounds. He's always known for good durability. Looking at this, Aspinall to win by KO, it is minus 150, but I am confident he is going to end up getting a knockout over Marcin Tybura in this fight, and I think he's the more well-versed fighter in every aspect. On the other side, looking at Mukhmud Muradov, he's a big favorite at minus 350. It's probably going over, though. I think there's a real chance, depending on the durability, though, of Barberena, of course, up a weight class. Over 1.5 at minus 250 could be quite live, but it's not a piece that I love here. I'm not like, oh, man, that's the one. Muradov by decision, plus 185. It's like the juice isn't worth the squeeze because there's a real chance that Muradov stops Brian Barberena. But we just don't know how Barberena is going to look at 185 pounds, normally fighting at 170. I was surprised to see him jumping up, especially in this matchup here against Muradov. So two of my most confident picks. I'm also going to throw at you an honorable mention most confident pick, which is Ketlen Vieira at minus 140. I do believe she has a very real chance to beat Pani Kianzad, and I think that she's a valuable woman's high confidence pick, and the line being as close as it is, I felt I had to mention it here in this section. But let's jump to the next section, which is the props / value bet section. I want to talk about props, man. I want to get into specific props more than anything else. And, look at what could potentially happen here between Joel Alvarez and Mark Diakiese. I'm pretty confident Alvarez wins too. If I was looking for a fourth piece to the most confident pick section, he could definitely be somebody that would be in there. Looking at how he gets it done, I believe Alvarez via submission is very live. Sits at plus 125, so I don't love the tag. I wish it was wider. It opened originally at plus 175. Playing it then would be a lot better. But Alvarez by submission, I see him catching Mark Diakiese's neck. Now, I don't think he's an awful money line addition as well, but I do believe he's the better fighter than Mark Diakiese here, and I like his chances a lot in this matchup. Joel Alvarez money line could be, a value bet piece, but definitely parlays. When we talk parlays, you'll see the Alvarez name brought up. It's going to be interesting, man, because I think Alvarez is going to style on Mark Diakiese here. But that is the props and value bet section. Nothing too crazy here on this card. I do want to actually bring up one degenerate thing, which is I do think Molly McCann's going to beat Stoliarenko. But if Stoliarenko were to win, plus 325 sub. I was thinking it was plus 1400, but yeah, I was looking at Molly Meatballs. So really not worth it nearly as much. Stoliarenko, McCann. It's an interesting fight. McCann should beat her. She's the pick, but, Stoliarenko, as much as I don't think she's very good, Molly McCann's very limited on the ground. But let's jump to the props. To the parlays. What am I saying? Props. We just finished the props. Parlays to play. I got a couple already written down here that I want to bring up. The dog parlay, which is going to come out with a big bite, is Ashmo's Paul Craig, doubling down on both. You got plus 567 if you're believing in those two underdogs. And then I want to give you also a safe play, which is going to be the most confident pick section. Let's read off Tommy Aspinall, which obviously I know he's a wide tag. He's not, the greatest line ever. Aspinall, minus 450. My guy, Mukhmad Muradov, you're at minus 166 if Aspinall Muradov wins. I mean, that's pretty good in my opinion. I think this is the safety parlay of the card at minus 166. It could be something that, you have on the side. Maybe you add a little steam to it because you're feeling it too. But let's be real. Both of these guys are in positions where they should definitely win their fights, and that is why the odds for it essentially suck. Now, if you wanted to add in Ketlen Vieira, who I also feel has a good chance to win, and the lock of the card here in Nathaniel Wood at plus 301, I think that's, decent plus money for four fighters that I think have a real good chance of getting it done. I want to mix some things up here. I got the next one. The next one is more steam. My dog of the card, I guess Ashmos could be it at plus 130, and then putting them with the close money lock at minus 200 Nathaniel Wood, plus 245 for these two. I like this plus money tag as well, mixing these two up. And then if you added Tommy Aspinall and you also put Muradov in, plus 453, I think there's a good shot for that. Add a little steam to it. You put in the likes of Josh Kulabao, plus 1173. You're starting to get crazy there, but that's where the big W's come. I want to do a little main card only parlay with underdog on the main card, Josh Kulabao, and then I also want to throw the likes of Tom Aspinall with him. We get plus 180 if Kulabao and Aspinall wins. It's not great, but it's also not bad. Nathaniel Wood plus 322, but I want to do some without the lock-in just to be a little versatile here. Kulabao with Ashmuz, two dangerous strikers in a parlay, plus 429 for that one. I feel like that one's very live too. I like this parlay a lot. A prelim dog with a main card dog, and then to mix it up, putting Joel Alvarez in. Alvarez, Kulabao, Ashmuz plus 710. I like these parlays, man. I like where we're heading with them. Then we put Aspinall in at the top. It gives you plus 890. Put Muradov in early. It breaks you to plus 1200. So Kulabale, Ashmouz, Alvarez, Aspinall, Muradov, pretty solid ass play. And if you added in Nathaniel Wood, now you got plus 1850. So you can go fucking nuts with it. I'll just go nuts with it to finish off with a plus 5555. Those are the parlays. I like a lot of them. You guys kind of know where my head's at with the most confident picks, favorite underdogs in the lock. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. Make sure you smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. Looking to get out of my lock slump. The picks last week were pretty great. 9-4 overall post weigh-in. But then, underdog lock, Tucker Lutz shafted me. So I'm actually Melsik Bagdasarian whooped my ass because I had the Lutz side. Looking to bring back some steam this week, going a little bit more conservative with Nathaniel Wood, somebody who I think is getting his hand raised at home. Looking forward to UFC London. I'll be live for the whole card. Make sure you tune into that Fight Companion too. I appreciate everybody for tuning into the show, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everybody.